Welcome to Yakuza, Like a Dragon. I'd like to compare Yakuza Like a Dragon's level design to Paradise Killer. They have some very similar features, and it's fun to compare them and contrast them, so that's what we're going to do. However, as a word of warning, I couldn't get this footage in the first part of Yakuza Like a Dragon because it doesn't really come into the game until about hour 30, so this is footage from quite late in the game. Now, I've tried to keep the spoilers to a minimum, but the very fact that certain people exist to have conversations could be considered a spoiler. So depending on how sensitive you are to that sort of thing, you can skip this video. If you're not that sensitive, let's go ahead and get talking. Both Yakuza Like a Dragon and Paradise Killer are very heavily reliant on adding collectibles to their game worlds. And collectibles can mean a lot of different things. For example, it can mean just the standard collectible stuff that you might expect. Tojo Clan Crests. The Tojo Clan Crest is a generic collectible. It's like blood crystals in Paradise Killer or cash in most other games. It's the thing you get when the game doesn't want to give you anything important. The Tojo family crests are really overused in Like a Dragon. The quantity of Tojo family crests to other rewards is maybe 5 to 1. It's really pretty shabby in that respect. But the game also has a couple of other kinds of rewards. However, because this is an RPG, the other kinds of rewards can integrate with the battle system. So for example, if we pick up other kinds of rewards, like this briefcase, it could be a battle and, a healing potion. This tuna and egg sandwich is a healing potion. And, there are fun names, but at the end of the day, they are simply things that you can use in battle. Paradise Killer doesn't have that. Instead, all of the things you pick up that aren't just generic cash have a story to them. There's something interesting. There's something sometimes profound or profane or silly, and it makes collecting them a real joy. When I go to collect something in this game, I don't really feel very much joy because none of the things I collect really mean anything to me unless they're bugs. I really wish that there were a lot more bugs to collect. Could we replace the Tojo family crest with bugs, please? Yeah. Anyway, another big difference between how this game handles collectibles and how Paradise Killer does is this game has a lot of hidden collectibles. It rewards you for looking behind things and into nooks and crannies. Paradise Killer doesn't do that. It doesn't have to do that because it doesn't have the same kind of level flow. This game has a very linear level flow, very flat levels, focused on streets, not very much in the way of side content in terms of, being able to wander off to the sides of anything. So this game's linearity requires it to have content, pick up, collectibles that are very, very close to the main thoroughfare. And that means that they have to be hidden. You just put them behind little ridges and corners and debris and let the player to collect them. In Paradise Killer, they're much further from each other and they have noises, so they're not hidden. They're luring you out. They're telling you to come on over. They're visible from a much longer range, and you get a sonar that can detect them pretty quick. So the purpose is a little bit different. Both of them exist to tell you to slow down and look around, but these collectibles tell you to slow down and look around in the immediate vicinity. Look at all these nice textures we've got. Look at all this effort we've put into our levels. In Paradise Killer, they tell you to just go somewhere else, move right along. And I think that that's a big difference that's worth noting. There's a few more things to say about that, but since we've got a conversation prompt, let's do a conversation. They've got full voice acting, but I've got the volume turned way down, so you might not be able to hear it.
Did you know Kansai runs at a different electrical frequency than Kanto?
What the heck? You made it sound all sci-fi.
It's not. Kanto simply runs their electricity at 50 hertz, whereas Kansai uses 60 hertz instead. So when you go from here to Kanto, some of your electronics might not work.
Huh. You know your shit. Wait a sec. Were you gonna try and leech power all the way from Sotenbori?
That's ridiculous.
You even have to ask? It'd be way too much work to steal different currents of electricity.
That's really not the issue.
So conversations in this game and conversations in Paradise Killer are very different. First off, in Paradise Killer, it'll cut away to a visual novel-style cutscene, whereas in this game, you remain in the game world and you can keep wandering around. The problem is that if you do anything, like, say, pick up a Tojo clan crest or get into a fight, then the conversation will vanish and you won't be able to have it. You have to go back and find it again, which means that as you're having these conversations, you have to try to avoid accidentally triggering anything or picking anything up. It forces you to either stand still or walk to a place that you already have explored and don't need to explore anymore. It's an interesting device to put a pause on your exploration. I'm not really sure how perfect it is, but it's an interesting idea and it's worth trying. The cutaway to a visual novel thing accomplishes the same sort of setup. You can't explore because you're in a visual novel. I would think that's a little bit more comfortable for me just because it doesn't force me to stand around in the game world as much, and I can focus on it 100% instead of splitting my attention between the conversation and whatever is in the game world. But both of them have their advantages. However, that said, an important difference between them besides that is that in Paradise Killer, you do not have 7 party members to have conversations with. You basically can only have conversations with Shinji or conversations between the 2 people at the blood bar. Because you have a much lower quantity of characters, your characters have to be much zanier. Otherwise, you won't be able to have the breadth of conversation that you'll be able to have with 7 characters. So when you get 7 characters, you can write character-driven bits. You can have them bounce off of each other. For example, this conversation.
It's supposed to be super delicious. We should stop by.
Oh, hey, I've seen this girls' bar on a magazine cover at Popo. And they had some delicious-looking ladies. We should stop by.
They're like peas in a pond. Seriously.
I don't know about that.
You see how that used 5 different characters to tell the skit in the right way? Well, they couldn't do that in Paradise Killer because there aren't 5 characters that will ever talk to you at the same time. But instead, Paradise Killer's conversations are mostly with Shinji, who is a demon who just kind of says whatever he wants. Because he's so out there and zany, you can have the same breadth of conversations. It's a requirement because you just don't have as many people to bounce off of.
What's up with all those no double dipping signs? Is it really that big of a crime?
Dude, the dipping sauce is by far the most expensive ingredient.
Wait, really?
Believe it or not, that shit can go for hundreds of thousands of yen. That's why they only give you 1 dip per skewer.
Man, I had no idea the sauce was that gourmet. Now I gotta try some for sure.
You're pretty damn gullible, Kasuga-kun.
Huh?
How could you not tell he was lying?
The signs are there because double dipping is unsanitary.
It could also be because it would compromise the integrity of the sauce.
What the hell? Am I the only one who thinks it's weird? And you guys suck, by the way.
My bad.
I fell for it too.
So there you can see another example of the conversations you can have. I chose this particular place in the game world because it has tons of conversations. They're often quite rare. But you can see how they interrupt the exploration flow, kind of give you a break, and how they enhance the feel of the game by making sure you understand who the characters are and giving you a kind of buddy feel with them. I think they're very well done. In both games, they're quite nice. But, of course, in Paradise Killer, when you're talking with Shinji, you don't really need to get Shinji's character solidified because he doesn't really have one. He's just there to be zany. So those conversations tend to be more like asides that are just there to serve as a nice break from exploration. Whereas these serve as a nice break from exploration and will also give you character beats that you might not otherwise get. Here's another example of a collectible that's hidden away. You wouldn't see that in Paradise Killer because you'd hear it right away, and so there'd be really very little reason to hide it behind an outcropping. There are a few that are hidden behind outcroppings, but by and large they exist to pull you off to the side. So, for example, in Paradise Killer, you'd see a collectible down there. In this game, there is one. It's way over there, but it doesn't call to you. It's not quite as aggressive like that. But these collectibles in this formation, this is as close as it gets to being Paradise Killer style collectibles, rewarding you for wandering off into some place a little bit strange. But the lack of our ability to then, jump up here and get back up there or go over there means that our exploration comes to a quick stop as soon as we found the collectible, and all that's left to do is trudge back onto the main path and look for another collectible somewhere else. That does kind of hamstring the attempts to use collectibles as exploration fodder to get you to explore the level, because there just isn't a level to explore. It's too linear. It's too straight. Now that's probably mostly to do with the way that the game is created and how it's supposed to work. That's fine. I'm not saying that every game has to be like Paradise Killer. I'm telling you how the collectibles work differently. They work differently because the levels are structured differently. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Have a good one.